Board now back with you. This may be one of my shorter reviews because I am talking about Orphan Black Echoes Series 1 Episode 3. It is called Pegasus Girl. A lot of it anyway is a backstory about Jules, and oh boy did I not need a backstory about a character that I'm not really that enamoured with already, but we're only 3 episodes in. Modern TV thing in particular, like where they feel like to explain a person's history who they've just dropped into the story they need a backstory, and they really don't. And the other thing with this episode is the CW style feel which they've now given Orphan Black in this version of it continues, and that bugs me to no end. So nothing particularly interesting happened with Jules and her backstory. We go back to just after the car crash involving her parents, so she survived, they didn't, and she's taken to the medical facility, and a bit like Lucy, she's got short-term memory loss. She meets this woman called Pam, who's like her physician, and we find out later on that there's something a little bit unusual about Pam, because someone who works at the hospital mentions this to Lucy when they go digging. Pam, who's from an outside company, she's not one of the regular hospital staff, would see to Jules. But we get some quirky stuff, like Jules immediately notices that Pam has a stain on her breast. No, she is covered up. Oh, whoopsie, I dropped some soup. Very cutesy wootsy CW type dialogue back and forth, because they start talking about Jules's past and the dog, the family dog. So I hear, according to this episode, was called Sparklefatty. Sparklefatty, which Jules is baffled about. I can only assume her parents gave her the name, that's what she says. But Sparklefatty is the name of the family dog. Now, I know you can read this as maybe this is unreliable, the memory stuff, and maybe Pam is inserting certain memory, because the way this seems to be going is that Pam and the people that Pam are working for, and we know that Jules' foster family seems to have a link to these people, then maybe they're creating like these stories. Sparklefatty, everyone. I'll just let that sit there for you. And as the episode goes on, we see how Pam, even after Jules has been released, is taking far too much interest to her. But let's just talk about Pam for a moment, because she is a really boring character. Like, she's not really like... She's doing that sort of gentle, nurturing thing a little bit, but is she manipulating Jules? It's not really interesting to watch. She's a little bit too much of a wet blanket, and if she is meant to be more of a villain, that's not really coming across. She's just very plain. A lot of people called Pam are, or they're just a little bit annoying. See Pam from Buffy for that. He takes too much interest in Jules, because when Jules is pulled out of school, Pam is there waiting in the office, even though she's not really a part of Jules's life anymore. And then she's talking to Jules's family, because we see the introduction of Jules and her family in this, the foster parents, and we know from the previous episodes that the mother out of the two seems a bit more supportive of Jules and a bit more like, let's give this girl a break, she's been through a lot, whereas the father seems a lot more harsh. And that stuff I don't mind too much. That's an okay thing to do with them. You get a little bit of conflict. Not that I care that much about the conflict, but by the end of the episode, and I don't know why they think this is a dramatic type scene to end the episode, it's with them trying to force antidepressants onto Jules, and they're antidepressants which Pam has recommended. So they do that thing where the father's being a little bit forceful. He insists, and Jules takes them in front of them at the dinner table, and she does that old school trick of she puts it in her mouth, but she's hiding it under a ton, and then she goes in the bathroom and she makes herself sick and gets rid of it, and that's the end. That's the dramatic ending to this episode. What the fuck is with that ending? Perky but passive aggressive character called Peyton, because immediately when Jules is discharged from the hospital, she goes into a mental institution for a little while. So we get this small cameo from Peyton, and again, she's pretty bland, but we don't get much of her. That scene is just to show that Jules has been adopted more by Pam and that she trusts Pam, and she actually finds Peyton quite annoying. So we see that Pam is there for Jules and her foster brother, who again is very hipster and quite annoying. At one point, he's reading passages from Jules' diary, and it's this whole thing of they're trying to figure out, is that really her diary or has it been staged? Oh, that's what Jules is thinking. I don't think the brother has cottoned on. Going to push this idea of how far does this stuff go? How much does Jules' foster family know? So we switch over to Lucy, and her and James, for some reason, go to hospital and start poking around. And as I said, randomly this woman comes out and says, yeah, Jules was here, but she's not here anymore. She was accepted by Pam, this off the books person. It was all a little bit weird. She's like, oh, I've got to go. But before she does, she happens to mention about Jules's dreams, and Lucy has a freak out. Oh, we're having the same dreams. There must be a connection. And this stuff is taking too long, but Charlie is being looked after by the carer when James is off playing private investigator with Lucy. The cop about what happened, about her shooting the guy, and they managed to clear it all up, but it's just that little forced drama once again. And later on, Lucy does quite a nice speech about how, yeah, again, he was the bad guy who was going to hurt us. There's no reason to feel bad. And that speech would have been fine on its own, except James had to, like, fuck it up with this really cheesy scene where he's putting, like, a toy rabbit or something, a cuddly toy, in the ground. He's burying it and kind of using that as a metaphor. And it's like, no, James, Lucy already did the hard work. She already got the message across. You don't need to be doing this cheesy bullshit. Kira has quite a tedious conversation with another scientist experiment, and he was the one who worked on it recently, and you can tell that she is meant to be more sympathetic than she is actually on Lucy's side, talking to the guy who runs the place, who's another boring character. You've got the Reed Diamond, or it is Reed, yeah, Reed Diamond, he's in the scene. There's too many characters, and this stuff just drags on too much, debating whether Lucy is a human being and should be treated with respect, and obviously Kira is of that mindset. So that's all from Black Echoes, Season 1, Episode 3. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And check out the Grange Hill looking uniform on Jules as well. It really is something to see. Look out for more soon, and look out for the next part of our top 50 TV characters list, which I'm doing with Rachel McDonald. Part 3, will be up on the channel. Like and subscribe, guys. I'll see you again soon. Bye.